Okay, Bullock family, it's on and popping.
Yes. Let's get it.
You are tuned in to Studeo22LiveTV.
Studio22 Live.
It's the Studeo22LiveTV podcast, season 4. Welcome to Studeo22LiveTV podcast, where we discuss valuable topics, interview amazing people, sharing their stories and valuable lessons learned to educate, impact, and empower lives across the world. Studeo22 Live. Welcome back to Studeo22LiveTV podcast, season 4. I'm your host, Fred Fitzgiles, and I'm just so glad you guys are back with us. We got an incredible show for you today. It is going to be phenomenal. This episode is going to be what I call a family affair. Why? Because we have none other than the dynasty of the Bullock family. Bryce, the actor, he's an author, and he's a writer. We also have his father, who's the visionary and brainchild of motion illustrations, Demetrius Motion Bullock, who is also an artist, an illustrator, an actor, and now he's an author himself. He has illustrated over 10 publications to date, which includes 6 children's books and 4 book covers. And the editor-in-chief, it doesn't go out the door until it goes through the editor, and that is Michelle Bullock. It is truly a family affair. The privilege to be able to have just one of those people, not just a people, but I actually have a family that I'm going to be honoring today. And let me tell you, I met this family very recently, and I was very impressed with the talent and the passion. They definitely had that, and all that they were doing. You know, they were writers, they were authors, artists, actors, illustrators, but I was most impacted by the fact that they did it as a family. And right now, I want to just introduce the next New York Times best-selling family, the Bullock family. And I have the pleasure to have my friend, Mr. Demetrius Bullock. I also have his amazing, I call the editor-in-chief. She is the queen. We got the head, we got the queen, and we got the brain with that young CEO, Mr. Bryce Bullock. Welcome to the Studeo22LiveTV podcast. Demetrius, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Man, I'm doing incredible, man. Thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about your background, personally, your family, and also where you're from.
Okay. Well, I grew up originally in Bronx, New York. Lover of art, been doing it since I was 5 years old. My background, I've done so many things in life, but I think the one that kind of geared me in the direction of wanting to pursue what I'm currently doing is when I started working as a counselor and aiding those that were going through those that needed an outlet as far as to, what they were currently doing in life.
Yes.
So I was introducing art into their lives to, hopefully give them a change. And it just, it made me want to go out and just pursue it again, pursue it more with my family and the birth of my son, who's just, been the spark plug in this whole thing.
Nice. Very, very nice. So did you always want to be an entrepreneur when you were younger?
Absolutely. To a degree, but where I grew up, that was like an unheard of thing. It was pretty much, you follow and there was no real leaders, I'll be quite honest.
Right.
What I did have the privilege of seeing was the birth of, to say a generation of music and hip hop growing up in the Bronx. So I got a cousin that's, was very inspirational to me in a lot of ways. That's one of the pioneers of hip hop. So I got a chance to kind of gravitate towards that. And I was like, there is a way. But, for art, especially as a black man, young black man at that, it was like, where do you go with your art?
Yeah, absolutely, right.
So it eventually got pushed to the back burner until I was like, you know what, now's the time.
So while you were in the Bronx, New York, first of all, shout out to the Bronx, the birthplace, okay, of hip-hop, right? Yep. What kind of music did you listen to?
I got a broad variety of style that I love. Currently, I love my classic soul, I listen to that when I'm creating, when I'm drawing. I try to introduce it to my son. I think I got my wife into it as well. She hears so much of it.
Nice.
Yeah. She said she was already there.
She was already there, huh? I know that's right, Michelle.
I gave her a little bit more. But, yeah, but I'm a lover of all sorts of music. I love jazz. I love classic. I love old soul. I love a lot of new stuff. Mm-hmm. Some of the rap I can't get with today, but they got their lane.
I'm with you. I'm definitely with you.
Respect.
And who was your biggest inspiration?
Who's my biggest inspiration currently? I mean, aside from my mother and my family. Yeah. My family. We've been. They inspire me to do more.
Yes.
To do more, and the beauty of it is currently what we are doing. Mm-hmm. We're doing together and enjoying every bit of it.
And that's the part I loved about it, man. I actually, when I put the show together, I'm going to kind of do you guys' bio, but when I was reading through it, that's the biggest thing. I mean, you're doing some, phenomenal things, but the fact that you're doing it as a family, I think is very, very important. I know there's a lot of people that, are in families and they all are kind of doing their own thing, right? And it may start out like that, but I think the magic happens when you can have everybody's talent and then you can complement each other, and so that whole family dynamic, the family values. Did you have that kind of value when you were growing up? You talked about your mom. Tell us a little bit about your mom as well. How amazing she was.
She was everything. She raised me, along with my grandparents. It was just me. It was just her and my grandmother and my grandfather. Mm-hmm. They were my core network. And, I grew up, an only child, and she was everything. She worked 2 jobs in order to support me, and she was a big inspiration on just, the core values of just, pursuing. Even though you struggle, you make a way.
Yes.
And one of the things I think I've talked about this before. I've mentioned this, and I always speak about it. It's just how she always reminds me, just how important it is for me to go after this gift and this career that I'm currently in. Because when I was younger, about my son's age, Bryce, we lost our apartment in a fire, and when she was allowed to go back in, the one thing she came out with was my markers, and I always remember this today because she wanted to make sure that I continue drawing. So it's important that I see, that I see this thing come to life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That, and see, I think that is probably it gave you that identity, that kind of major, and then having that, sometimes you have those tragedies that happen, but then something comes out of it that sparks, is like the catalyst for your career. So it sounds like, is that kind of how it was for you?
Yeah, definitely.
So I also see on your bio, my friend, I see that you are an actor. Tell me about that, how that came about.
A friend of mine, his sister, she was a director, and back in my earlier 20s, she had put up a production, and I think a week before performance, the gentleman that they had that was supposed to be in a play, he couldn't do it. And her sister was like, Demetrius could probably do it, why don't you ask him? So I got introduced to acting through that moment, and I got a chance to do a couple of plays. I think I may have acted maybe about 15 years before I put it aside, I guess, to pursue art. But out of it, I received a couple of awards, and I think that the highest achievement I got, the best thing I got out of it, was my wife, because she came to my last performance in a play that, we did. Yeah, she came to one of my last performances, and I'm just grateful I got a chance to see her and do my thing in front of her. I think she liked the way I did my stuff.
I know that's right, man. That's amazing.
About the leg.
That's right. So what I'm gonna go ahead and pull in and introduce to our listeners. Also, I say the queen. She's the editor-in-chief as well. Michelle, how you doing, lady?
I'm doing great, Fred. How are you?
I just wanted to let you know that I apologize to you, because you're the first person that I talk to and say, hey, I want to get y'all on the show, and I just so happen to be coming to the end of the season, but I didn't forget about you. I came back around, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
So before you met this amazing gentleman, just tell us a little bit about your background as well, and what kind of inspired you when you were younger.
Well, my background actually started with marketing and advertising. Nice. And I got my bachelor's degree in marketing, and that was my first love, is advertising. And consumer behavior and people buying things. So that was where I started. And from there, actually, when I was in that field, I met Demetrius.
Wow.
And I just kind of felt the call to do something more. And that moved me into the human services realm, where I started as a counselor for children and adults that were struggling with addictions.
Wow.
So I built my career in that field in New York and then down here in Delaware. And you know, dealing with my mom and some of the struggles that we had with my mom before I lost her, I kind of needed to step away from that for a little while.
Right.
And I started teaching.
Wow.
So now I'm an adjunct instructor at Del Tech.
All right.
Teaching in the Human Services Department and first year seminar freshmen.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
I could tell you this. I had, challenges with my mother. I lost my mother at a young age as well. A lot of my listeners, they're like keen to connection. It's all about being able to connect with people. And sometimes we have situations happens with our parents. There's nothing like losing a mom, is it?
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, it was rough for me too. And I actually found my mother, when she passed away. So it never really goes away. But I know how what I try to do is I try to be able to remember the good times. How do you keep your strength up to kind of move forward and kind of live in her legacy and bring that stuff forward when you have those challenging moments? How you push yourself forward?
Well, I focus on my family, really. She taught me to be strong, and she taught me to be independent, and that's what I bring to them. Especially my oldest son and Bryce. Yes,
that's why you're the queen. That's why you're the queen. So let me just ask this, Demetrius. If I can come back to you real quick, and thank you for sharing that, Michelle. So I got one more question for you. So don't go anywhere yet. But Demetrius, I'm gonna come back to you, and I just want to find out. So how did this all start? As far as the young CEO, when did he start being an author? How did that all come into play?
Started at 5.
No way.
5 years old.
Wow.
I mean, he's always had just this imagination, just that just intrigued me. Just like looking at him, I was like, wow. He's thinking of all these ideas. He's got all this little costumes he would wear and these characters he would create. But at 5, he came to my wife and I, and he said he would like to make a book. So I said, all right, well then let's make a book. And he had a little idea, a little story. It was a picture book called The Hungry Kid, where it was just a child just trying to find something to eat in the house. So we went around, we took pictures. My wife added his words to the book, and she did the research on where to actually get this thing published, because we were just going to make it into we was going to send it to, what is that thing called? A Shutterfly.
Okay, yeah.
A little book that we can have in the house. And then we said, you know what, why don't we, he said, let's make a book. So why don't we go and actually make a book? So she researched, and she found a company online that does some self-publishing independent authors and, artists and stuff. And she sent in the material, and we actually got a physical book with copies that we could, on demand. We had reached out to his principal at the school and just said, Bryce had created a book, and we wanted to know if we could bring it into you. And she was speechless at first. And then she said, then she was like, we've never had a child that's done that. She said, I would love for you guys to have a book signing here at the school and everything. And she had contacted some press, and WDEL came out and interviewed him. And I mean, he was on the radio at 5 talking about his story and his ideas and and everything, and it's been ongoing from there. He's gone on to create like these little paper puppets that we're going to do something later with. He
already did some.
Well, something on top of that as well. Yeah, that's right. And he's made books, a lot of books with words, without words. This is just with using regular paper. But then he came up with an idea of putting together pancake images, which is that he wanted to start where he wanted to showcase different superheroes in there, and and here we are now.
Wow.
With the first superhero team to come out was with us, Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give Mr. Bryce W. Bullock an official introduction, and I'm going to bring him on. I'm going to talk to him just for a couple minutes because I am so excited. First of all, Motion Illustrations and Pancake Images presents Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm, created by Bryce W. Bullock, the author of The Hungry Kid and the inspiration behind Where Can I Color, and the character creator of Tony Bibbles, has gone on to write and create another outstanding children's paperback comic book. Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm are two accidental heroes embarking on their first adventure in this issue. They battle with the most uncommon foes found in all comic history, with their first villain being the one who accidentally gave them their powers. Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm are characters created by Bryce Bullock, and Volume 1 is his first full-length paperback comic book written by Bryce. He is also the lead illustrator in this edition, along with his father, illustrator artist Demetrius Bullock, and this was another Bullock family affair. And to my listener, I want to introduce you guys to young Bryce W. Bullock. What's up, Bryce?
Nothing much.
How you doing, man? How you like that?
That is a wonderful introduction.
Tell me about the first time you got a vision for a book.
So, I was thinking, I always wanted to do a book like for a little bit when I was younger, but I didn't want to do it. But then one day when I fell asleep, and then the next day I just thought, hey, I want to do a book today. So then I told my parents, and they're like, okay, let's do it. So, yeah, that was it.
And tell me about this first character. I want to ask you about this character because I got 5 children and 2 grandkids. So you know I got to get you a book. Tell me about Daddy Longlegs' character. Tell me about him.
Just Daddy Longlegs or the Inchworm too?
Let's start with the Inchworm. Tell me about the Inchworm so my listeners can hear.
Wait, no, I'll talk about Daddy Longlegs. Save the best for last.
You got it. There you go.
So, Daddy Longlegs is like my dad, but as a superhero. I'm way better than him, of course, but his powers is he can stretch his legs to unrecorded lengths, and his bones in his legs are like very rubbery, so he's able to stretch them around like Mr. Fantastic or something like that. But the reason that he only has powers in his legs is because when we fell down the hill, he only fell halfway through, but I fell all the way through, so he only got powers from the waist down. But for the Inchworm, like when I said he fell all the way into the chemicals, like these are all of his powers. Like he can shrink, he can duplicate himself, he can climb up walls. He has an weensy bit of strength. Oh yeah, he can also turn into a stick for 10 minutes. For that, and that allows Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm to at least whack a bad guy in the head.
Oh my goodness, this sounds like it's an amazing story, man. How long did it take you to write it?
2 days.
2? No way. 2 days?
But if we're calculating it scientifically,
yes, let's
it
go.
would be a day and a half.
Okay, well, I got you. That's what I'm talking about. That is amazing. There's some people that have taken years and years and years to write a book like this. It sounds like it's going to be incredible. I'm telling you, I'm going to pick it up for my grandson. You got my word on that. I'm going to get some copies. I'm going to read it myself. And I'm telling you, I wanted to let you know that you're an amazing young man. You're going to be doing some great things. I see so many big things. I want to congratulate you for just following your dreams and following your goals and not being afraid to put it out there. And I think you know from the look of it, Daddy Longlegs is a little bit bigger, but the Inchworm might be a little bit better. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
I bet you would say that. That's good. Yeah, it was such a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for being on the show, Bryce.
Yes.
Wait, before I go,
Yes,
can
sir.
can I tell you a joke about pizza?
I would love it.
Actually, no, it's too cheesy.
Oh, that's a good one. Woo-wee. Yes, he
Maybe
is.
that's his next career. Who
Yeah,
knows?
man. Maybe that's his next career. So he, I also wanted to mention you guys to our listeners that actually they just did a phenomenal job with a play that my sister worked on with Rob Moore. He was one of the main characters, man. And so he's such a natural. I can see it, and I can see also when a lot of parents, they think that their energy in their child is one way, but the energy is actually creativeness. I don't think our school system can keep up with our energy of these kids anymore. So it's awesome to see the family recognize that and use the energy. Yeah, man. So let me just ask you guys as a family, if you have someone that is looking to being able to be authors or getting into acting or wanting to follow their dreams, what kind of advice would you give to them?
Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't let anything stand in your way of pursuing it. You know, even if you have challenges with the write, just write. You can always go back and change, what you've written, but just put the thoughts down on paper, no matter how crazy they sound. Go back to it and, redo your edits. Drawing, not everybody can draw, although, that's what they say, but I tend to differ. We can all create. We all have that gift of creating. My style, of course, may be different from someone else's. There's others who have an amazing talent to draw something that looks like a photograph, but your style can still create. If you can still create something that can reach the world, inspire the world. So create.
And I think for me, people need to just keep do their research and ask for help. There's enough resources out there, and there's enough people out there that are willing to help. We're one of them because we offer our services to just talk to people and give them advice or give them resources and where they can find different things.
Absolutely.
And believe it or not, there are a lot of people out there that are willing to do that. And we've met some great people in this industry in all the events that we've been to, and everybody is just looking to help everybody move forward.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for being able to share that. Now, if you guys are listening, that is some key gold nuggets that they just gave you. So if you're sitting on something, if you got an idea, if you think that nobody's going to help you, sometimes you got to get around people who are like-minded. You got to get away from the people who's going to pull you down. You got to get around people who are already doing things and kind of reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to people because nothing's going to come to you. Opportunity's not going to knock on the door. You got to prepare for it. And then when you're out and about, when you're talking to people, when you're listening to podcasts or shows like this, or you're reading books, what this family has come up with and the future things, that's when you can be able to start to reach for your own goals and reach your own dreams. But the key is, don't just think about it. You got to take action. You have to take action because people talk all day, but this is a family that don't talk. They put the hustle behind the muscle, right? Bullock.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
No more time for talking.
No more time for talking. Young Bryce, what kind of advice would you give to a young kid right now in school that wants to start learning how to write?
You should read a lot because it helps you learn new words. And and I don't know anything else, but I do know one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Stay buggy.
That's it, man. That's great advice from young Bryce. Michelle, somebody wanted to get a hold of you guys as a family to talk to you guys. How can they contact you guys so they can purchase some books?
Yes, well, the books are available on Amazon.com and other major retailers online, and also at the comic book shop here in Delaware and Amalgam Comics and Coffee House in Philly, and also at Artscape.
205 North Market Street.
At 205 North Market Street. And if you contact us via email or even phone calls, we take phone calls, Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, all of that. We'll meet you there by appointment, and our next event, give you a copy, or at any of the events that we're doing.
Excellent. Is there a website out there for you guys?
Yes. www.motionillustrations.com.
And email address, if you can just throw it out there, just in case for my emails and texters.
It's Demetrius, Demetrius, Bullock @gmail.com. And we are starting a new email for Pancake Images, and it's Pancake Images, spelled with a K, @gmail.com.
Excellent. The Bullock family, it has been an honor and privilege to be able to have you on the show today. What a way to kick off a new season. We're going to also update our show notes, guys, as you guys know, and give you a free download of the actual show notes. And also, we're going to update the information with the events that's coming up. And also, we're going to be able to put that up there so you guys can have access to it as well. Demetrius, Michelle, and Bryce, I thank you so much for being on the show today, guys. It's been an honor. I wanted to honor you guys in the right way because you guys are inspiring, you're motivating, but most of all, you are just impacting so many people by pushing forward. So I thank you guys just for being you.
Thank you so much, Fred. This has been great, and we appreciate you.
Yes, very much.
All right, guys, this is Studeo22LiveTV podcast. Always positive, always on. You guys take care and God bless.
Well, God bless. Take care.
Studeo22 Live. Thank you so much for listening to Studeo22LiveTV. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. We strive to continue to add value to the lives of all of our listeners, and we appreciate you for giving us the time out of your day. Don't forget you can check out the show notes and the resource links on our website and our Facebook group, Studeo22LiveTV. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter. You can give us a call if you got any questions or suggestions or comments. And please go onto our Facebook page and comment on the show. And when we go season 4 of Studeo22LiveTV, always positive, always on.